Welcome back! Hey guys, I am back here today with another trans education video for you. This video is going to be based off of a question that I tend to get a lot in a lot of the comments on a lot of my social media platforms, and that is, when did I realize I was trans? I've never really sat down and talked about this whole experience in a video before, so I thought it would be interesting for me to kind of tell you the story of how I figured out and realized that I was in fact trans. Also, yes, I dyed my hair. My friend Kate did it. It's incredible. I just let them have free reign of everything and they did a wonderful job, so basically I first heard the term transgender when I was around 9 or 10 years old. So this is like 2008-ish? Around that time, I was sneaking behind my parents' back because they wouldn't let me watch it, to watch Degrassi. I'm pretty sure it was Degrassi The Next Generation that I was watching, but I remember they'd go out because they'd have like Bible study or a church meeting, and all of our other TVs had parental controls on them, but I would sneak into their bedroom so I could watch Degrassi. And lo and behold, that show that I was banned from watching introduced me to the term transgender. The character Adam Torres was introduced onto the show, and if you're not familiar with Degrassi, he was a mid-transition, like beginning of his social transition trans man. So seeing somebody go through something that I felt like I would probably have to go through, and seeing somebody whose thoughts are displayed and look very similar to my thoughts, it was like, wow, kind of a realization point. I really related to Adam's story. Aside from the dysphoria factor, my dysphoria was non-existent to not as severe as Adam's in the show, but because everything was so similar, it definitely prompted a very rapid Google search on my part. So I was searching for all terms having to do with it. I was searching for transgender. I was looking into what FTM stood for. I looked up ace bandages for binding purposes because that's what you saw Adam do in the show. Yes, my glasses are dark now. I had to go let my dogs in. But at that point of doing all of the Google searches and stuff, I was finding all of the definitions and things that I definitely related to that I did not know prior to seeing Adam's character on Degrassi. And I basically already had a name picked out because a character that was introduced earlier in the show, Riley, I very much connected with. He was a queer man on the football team, did not relate to the football team stuff or the like very masculine stuff, but I did relate to the being queer part, and I did relate to wanting to be called Riley for some odd reason. So when I looked into the definitions of trans and stuff, and it was like, you might want to pick a new name, and knowing my birth name, it was like, oh yikes, Riley was just the first name that I gravitated towards, and it really stuck. So there's no in particular reason. I just heard the name and was like, cool, that's my name now. At that point, I proceeded to come out to friends, and I was in like 7th grade, and I was just asking them, hey, can you call me Riley? I wasn't really explaining anything. I wasn't really telling them that I was trans. I was just like, hey, do you think you could call me by a different name? And all of them were like, yeah, absolutely. And I talk more about that in my coming out experience video, so if you would like to hear that whole story, you can go check that one out. I just remember always being gendered feminine as I grew up, except for this one time. I went to Buffalo Wild Wings with my family. It was me, my parents, and my younger sister. And we were all dressed up because the Tigers were playing. There was a baseball game going on. And I had, at the time, I had really long hair, but I had it up in a Tigers baseball cap, and I was wearing a Tigers shirt. And they were giving out tickets to all of the kids that came in that night. So the girls were getting girl tickets, and the boys were getting boy tickets for different raffle prizes. Well, we walk in, and they ended up giving me the boy ticket. So obviously they thought I was a boy. My parents were trying to present me so hard as a girl. I remember they were confused and a little bit angry. I was just like, holy shit, this is my moment. It made me feel really great and really happy without a ton of reason behind it, and it just kind of made sense to me. Feminine genders and pronouns just did not fit with me or my personality or what I identified with. I remember up until I saw that episode of Degrassi, I had tried really hard to dress and act feminine just to try and, you know, be normal, but after I saw that episode with Adam, it was kind of like a click into my head and like, hey, maybe I'd be happier if I started to act the way I felt inside. As cliche as that is, I remembered kind of that what I was feeling was generally an okay thing to feel, and after seeing the show, it made me feel like I wasn't alone and that I was able to be myself. So that's how I realized that I was trans. I know it's not much of a story and a lot of people are kind of surprised. Yes, Degrassi was how I found out I was trans. trans. That's just how it was. Maybe if you guys liked this video, you'll like some of the stories about how I was stumbling across, like, you know, lesbian porn at 8 years old. It's how I figured out I was queer. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, it would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload. I post 2 videos a week here, one on Tuesday and one on Thursday, so you have content coming out regularly. I am back for good now, I promise. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumb, because that shows your support, and I need that right now. And if you'd like to support me a little bit further, you can check out my Patreon, which is linked in the description below. For as little as $1 a month, you can help me and support my channel and the content that I make, and maybe we can get through this whole ad disaster that's happening. And be sure to check out my side channel and regression channel, which are also linked in the description. I love you guys a ton, and I really appreciate you being here today. I'll catch you soon. Goodbye.